The riot police were called to Yonsei University as students began a demonstration calling for the government's presidential candidate, Roh Tae to withdraw from next month's elections. Protests against him have been held at other universities throughout the country. At Yonsei, 500 protesters turned out, but by the afternoon their numbers had trebled. Riot police fired dozens of tear gas grenades to keep the students within the university compound. The students rallied for a march through the streets of Seoul in support of Kim Dae-jung, one of the principal opposition candidates and hero to the younger generation of South Koreans. But the riot squads moved in to stop the marchers leaving. South Korea's political temperature is rising daily as the election approaches. The outcome remains in the balance, but for the time being, the government seems prepared to contain such demonstrations rather than crush them.
The coming months will be a testing time for South Korea's security arrangements. The biggest task they face will be next year's Olympics. But more immediately, there are presidential elections in the offing, and it was these that concerned Defense Minister Chun Ho-Yong when he addressed 140 members of the country's top brass. He warned opposition parties against attempts to alienate the armed forces from the rest of the country, and went on to pledge that the military would adopt a neutral stance during the election campaign. At Seoul National University, the students had their own message for the military. 8 of the 1,000 or so who'd gathered there slashed their fingers and wrote their own blood-stained posters. They denounced the military government and called for an end to the military dictatorship of President Chun Do-hwan. Students from 15 of the capital's universities have been at the forefront of anti-government protests during the past 2 years. Friday's demonstration started quietly enough, but soon the singing was to give way to violence. Effigies of members of the ruling party were burnt, then the rock throwing began, and it took riot police with tear gas to restore an uneasy peace. Roh Tae entered a political lion's den when he chose the opposition stronghold of Kwangju for the election rally. The ruling Democratic Justice Party candidate knew he'd face a tough time from supporters of presidential rival Kim Dae-jung. But the situation soon turned much rougher than even he had expected. Security men interlocked shields to protect Roh, as thousands of people hurled rocks, sticks, fruit and eggs at the candidate's open car. The drama en route to the podium continued when Roh arrived 20 minutes late to deliver his speech. But before he even arrived, his security men had set up more makeshift screens to protect him. By now, protesters were hurling more than rocks and sticks. Several threw tear gas grenades at the podium, forcing fellow demonstrators to flee, while some sections of the crowd turned on others. When Roh Tae eventually made it to the podium, he hurriedly read a prepared speech before leaving. Some of the protesters then smeared blood on posters of Roh, while others ran through the streets. Security police then moved in, firing tear gas and arresting 27 people. Later, several hundred of the demonstrators regrouped and attacked police with rocks and firebombs.